everyone, it's Catherine here from Inky Fingered Cat, another Christmas in July project, and I went back to pattern paper to play with today. I took 2 sheets of, I don't know the name of this, it's quite an old, I think it was a Celebration, but it's Stampin' Up paper. So I've got 2 sheets of 12 by 12 and I've cut it down and I'm just cutting some random shapes and thinking I'm going to do some 6x6 square cards. That's what I'm going to end up with at the end of it. So I am just deciding how I want the panels to look, and I decide that I want to do some sewing. So this is me just sort of using up those strips. I've still got some to the side because I'm thinking about my vocal element and I do want to do a bit of paper piecing, and I also want to be able to pop some strips on the inside if there's any left over. And that's indeed what happens. So if you want to skip ahead to the end to see the pictures, that's it. But hey, this is a process video. You're going to see the whole lot coming together. I do go a bit fast in the middle of this. Obviously this is already sped up, but there's quite a lot of fiddling, and this took me probably about an hour and a half to do these 4 cards, which I don't see as a bad thing. It was a very pleasant hour and a half. So, you know, it's fine. But you can see here, I took out the sewing machine, but you can't really see anything when I video with the sewing machine, so that's not on video. I kept it really simple. I just basically did some sewing around the edges. I did a little bit of a difference between some of them are zigzag, some of them are not. I'm not sure how well it comes up on the video, but you'll probably see it in the final ones. But it just adds that little bit of whimsy, I suppose, to the background. Now, I'm taking some of the pattern paper, and my images are an old Creative Stamping magazine set, and I've chosen the polar bear, and then I want his jumpers to be paper pieced. So I am actually heat embossing the VersaFine on the jumpers. So I do there's 2 different designs of jumper, and I do one of each on each of the pattern paper. And then I'm going to stamp my bear 4 times. He's so cute. And you know what's great about this bear? He really doesn't need much colouring. He needs very little colouring at all. So I'm just positioning it so I can try and get the 4 on this 1 sheet, and then I realise that the magnet's still in the way. That's why I'm struggling. But yeah, stamping him out. I used VersaFine, forgot that I was going to then start using Pro Markers, or actually I ended up using my Stampin' Blends. So ideally I should have used Memento rather than the VersaFine for that, but it'll be fine. It doesn't have a problem because the only thing that I'm doing is adding a little bit of pink to his ears and his paws at the bottom, and a little bit of grey to his claws on the front paws that you can see. I do add some shading, but it's totally pointless because it gets covered by the jumpers, and I just didn't think about it when I was doing it. My mind was elsewhere. I was actually listening to the radio and singing along, so I wasn't really concentrating when I was doing it in terms of end product. I was just going ahead with my colouring. Then I thought, oh, hang on a minute, I need to add some shading to my jumpers. So at this point, I'm just adding a little bit of shadow to just where there would be a little bit of natural darker colour. And then fussy cutting. So you do get to see me fussy cut everything, but don't worry, I speed it up because otherwise you would have been here for a long time, and this is already going to be a bit of a longer video. I already know that. Now, the slight annoyance about these particular stamps is they don't tell you where his paws are at the bottom of his jumper. It's so annoying, so you're sort of like guessing your way around it. So you can see I've pulled out my pencil and I'm kind of going around the shape in the hope that I get it right. But in a couple of places I do knock off with the scissors some of the black line of the embossing. So I just added that back in with some pen work. It was just easier to do that. You also may have spotted that I also added a little bit of shading to those stars. I just wanted to just make them look a little bit different. I think when paper piecing, it's better to make it look still as though it's part of the original image. So that's what I've been doing there. Now on to the green ones. The green ones are obviously a bit darker, so I do the same thing in terms of the shading and adding in some additional colour onto his pattern of his jumper, but not to the same extent as I had in the little in the paler colour ones, the sort of crumb cake ones, because it was not going to show up. And I also chose on a couple of them to not do every single bit of the jumper, so it almost looked like some of them were same colour as the jumper. Hope that makes sense. So again, just going around defining a little bit in terms of shading. Again, I don't know how well that comes out on the video, but I know it's there. I enjoyed doing it, and in real life I just think it looks really cute. So then to fussy cut all the bears and choose which bear sits on which. And the way I chose to do that was that the ones that had got the lighter coloured jumper, they end up on the greener backgrounds with the more green on, and the ones with the green jumpers end up on the crumb cake background ones. Just helps with the contrast really. So at this point I have in my head nothing else planned. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I decide to go and grab those Waffle Flowers stamps that I got a couple of weeks ago, and to stamp a few of these for my sentiments. And it goes a little bit haywire. I'm obviously tired and not concentrating, or maybe I'm just listening to the music and not really thinking about it. So it takes me ages before I get 4 stamped that I think are in a good quality of stamping. Just takes ages. Then I'm going to die cut them out, and of course I'm going to die cut some additional ones. So I end up die cutting from that entire sheet 4 sentiments, and then the rest of it is for the backing. So again, it's very heavily sped up, so you don't have to be sitting here for hours. But this is time consuming, especially if you make mistakes like I did the first time. But it just goes to show, even if you've made mistakes, it's fine. Turn the piece of paper over. It's usually good to use the other side of it. And also you can use those scraps that you've misstamped on to create like bulkier sentiments, for example, by die cutting them again. And just adding them all up together. So there we go. There's our 4 sentiments all stacked. And now I'm still not sure what I'm doing. So I decided to go and grab this pouch of pre-cut banners. So I'm sure if anyone's been watching my videos before, they'll know that what I do is when I have a whole load of scrap cardstock, and I'm not feeling particularly in the zone to create, but I want to do something productive, I tend to take that pile of scraps and just die cut a whole load of random stuff. So sometimes that's sentiments, sometimes it's things like the banners, sometimes it's leaves. You'll see some leaves coming up in a minute, and I tend to do that. So I've taken a whole load of these sort of label banner type dies, and I'm just stacking them up in different ways. And you can see I hadn't got quite so many of the green ones that were going to work, so I coloured a couple of them with the same green ink. I think it's called Gumball Green. It's an old Stampin' Up colour, but yeah, I coloured a few with the ink so that it matched with the sentiment, and just stacked them up. So some of them are wavy, some of them are pointy, some of them are, you know, proper pennants, others are different kinds of labels. And then here we go. I've decided that what I want to do is just add some leaves as well. So this first one I didn't do in a sensible way in terms of adding the leaves first. I stuck everything down, then decided to add the leaves. But I'm just choosing, again, these are leaves that have already been die cut, probably about a year ago, from various scraps. I think it's, again, an old Stampin' Up die. I think it was from Forever Fern, but I could be wrong, could be a Ranger Wreath. And I just die cut a whole load of mini flowers because the scraps would only fit mini leaves. Scraps would only fit those. So I'm doing that on all 4 sentiments, but obviously those sentiment clusters all look a little bit different because they've all got either a different sentiment or different sets of little labels and banners underneath them. And obviously they're all on different backgrounds. And my bears all look different because they've all got a different kind of jumper on. So I love it when I do this, where I just take something that you'd think it's going to look the same for all 4 cards, but actually you end up with 4 totally different cards. But clearly themed, clearly linked, but yeah, they're all totally different. I love that these have also got this element of the sewing in. It just makes them look a little bit more rustic and playful than just having stuck down the plain card. Right, I decided on my embellishment I was going to use some card candy. I have all my card candy that I have is just in a jar and it's all mixed up together, and this is how I use it, is I just pour some out onto some paper that I can then funnel it back into the jar, and then choose the card candy that I want. And sometimes I choose something and then change my mind and go for a different colour like I did on that last one. And I'm just adding dots of glue. It's quite a bit of gloopy glue really, I suppose, underneath those to do that. Right, inside my cards I'm just going to use that last bit of the pattern paper that's left, and use as much of it as I possibly can to create some strips, and I'm just going to cut off at an angle so that they're sort of like little banners, and stick those on the inside. I do end up having to fiddle a bit with the final one just to add a few extra bits of scraps in because there isn't quite enough to do it, and it's a bit of an odd cluster at the end, but never mind, it works, it's fine. And that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed that. I know it's really sped up, but genuinely I was there for, as I say, about an hour and a half, and I didn't really want to do a video that lasts for 90 minutes, so I have managed to condense it quite a bit and chopped out some of the bits where I was just sat there umming and ahhing about what to do next. Do you do sewing on your cards? That's what I want to know, so please pop us a comment below. Do you enjoy doing the sewing on with the machine on the cards, that is? Please do give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, comment below, and subscribe if you want to see more. We are coming towards the end of Christmas in July, but there are more projects planned that I will do videos of, so please do subscribe. Until next time, bye bye.